Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, cold and uncomfortable, smelling earth underneath you. You are terrified to find yourself kidnapped and put in a hole in the ground. A figure shows up. It's a boy, a member of your family. You ask him for help, but he stares at you with cold hatred in his eyes. John Shea is a shy, introverted 13-year-old boy who lives in a large suburban home. From the outside, John's life appears to be a dream. He has everything he could ever want, but he feels isolated and alone. Despite having all his material needs met, he struggles to connect with his family and peers, leaving him feeling disconnected and disillusioned. John is also having a tough time with his math class at school. His daily routine consists of skateboarding, home from school, and eating dinner with his family. His father, Brad, is often tied up with work at the office, but makes an effort to spend time with John when he can. John owns an expensive radio-controlled quadcopter drone that he likes to fly in the dense forest near his home. The drone is difficult to control, and he keeps losing it. After one crash, the drone lands out of his reach, so he ventures deeper into the forest to retrieve it. While searching, he stumbles upon a mysterious hidden bunker and looks down the hole out of curiosity. He soon finds his drone stuck in a branch of the nearby tree. He climbs the tree and uses a fallen branch to free the drone, but unable to maintain his balance, he falls to the ground in the process. John suffers multiple injuries to his arms and legs. To hide the cuts, he takes off his clothes and shoes and gets into the pool to wash the injuries. In the house, John makes sure his mother isn't nearby and takes some painkillers to cope with the pain. At breakfast, he sits with his parents, Brad and Anna, and his older sister, Lori. His facial expression is filled with sadness and exhaustion, which concerns his parents. Despite his obvious signs of depression, John is reluctant to discuss his emotional well-being, and his parents are reluctant to force him. He doesn't tell them about the injuries and only admits to his father that he temporarily lost the drone and subsequently found it later in the forest, so Brad reprimands him for his carelessness. Brad's attention quickly shifts to Lori, who is getting ready for a date with her boyfriend. John then tells his parents about the hole he found. They explain that the hole is an unfinished bunker. The previous owners stopped construction years ago, likely because they didn't have the right permit. Outside of his family life, John is an aspiring professional tennis player. He has a trainer who helps him prepare for the state qualifiers. When he's at home, he often plays with a tennis ball, hitting it against the ceiling, which irritates Lori, who is trying to read in a room upstairs. John further annoys Lori by repeatedly asking her what she's reading and offering to help with her homework. She gets mad and tells him to stop, but she soon realizes that he's just lonely and wants to spend time with his sister. She kisses him on the forehead before leaving to study. John, now alone, throws the ball just a few inches from the ceiling, making no noise. Feeling sad, he later plays with his skateboard on an empty road, pushing it far away and leaving it there, unconcerned what will happen to it, as he has many more. John looks out the window and observes the gardener, Charlie, as he works. John goes downstairs and starts a conversation with him. Curious by nature, John asks Charlie a series of questions about his work, including his methods for dealing with weeds and pests. John tells Charlie he has a spider on his back. Charlie shows the spider to John, commending it for keeping the garden pest-free, but the spider bites him, throwing Charlie into rage. John goes to make Charlie more lemonade. As it gets dark, John sees Charlie through the window, losing consciousness from the spider bite. He cautiously approaches him with a stick and pokes him. John takes money from his pocket, puts it in Charlie's pants, and leaves without calling 911 or his parents. Later that night, inside the house, the family members are separated, each doing their own thing. Brad is exhausted from work, Lori is watching TV, and John is playing a multiplayer video game with his friend. John's mother brushes her teeth, then checks her painkiller bottle and notices some pills are gone. Feeling neglected and abandoned by his family in a sudden burst of aggression, John decides to punish them by kidnapping them while they're sleeping and imprisoning them in the bunker he found earlier. He goes into Lori's room and takes her blanket and pillow. Then he goes into his father's room and claps to see if he's really asleep. After taking his father's ringing phone, he carries him downstairs. John drinks some orange juice, drags Brad outside, and puts him in a wheelbarrow, which he then pushes toward the bunker. One by one, he carefully takes each family member to the bunker. Lori wakes up, confused at first, then horrified to discover that she and her parents have been kidnapped. It takes a moment for Brad to wake up, and he is just as shocked to find himself in the bunker. Anna is also slow to wake up, which initially worries Lori, but she eventually comes around. While his family is screaming for help in the bunker, John takes a bath. He later listens to recordings of his parents' voices, practicing their voices until he can realistically imitate them. He calls the gardener, pretending to be his mother. John tells Charlie that Brad will be doing the gardening himself from now on because doctors recommended it to help with his heart. With the gardener no longer visiting, John believes he can keep his family's disappearance a secret. He takes the family car out of the garage, adjusts the seat, and attempts to drive, enjoying the classical piano music. John enjoys driving the car. He stops to get some cash from an ATM before returning home to eat some fast food. His mother's friend, Paula, visits the house looking for Anna, who had promised to help her. John tells Paula that his mother isn't there. He fabricates a story about his grandfather having a heart attack and being in a coma. Paula wishes his grandfather a quick recovery and asks John to have his mother call her as soon as possible. John then gathers food and water and goes to the bunker. At first, his family doesn't realize he's the one who kidnapped them. Brad asks John to get them out or call someone. John just stares at them with cold hatred in his eyes. He throws the food to them as his parents continue to beg for rescue. John remains silent. Lori is the first to figure it out. Once the truth is revealed, Brad and Lori angrily yell at John while their mother begs him for help. Overwhelmed with fear and shame, John begins to shiver and leaves. With his family now imprisoned underground, John has complete control over their lives. He buys a new large TV and plays video games with his friend, Pete. John tells Pete that his parents are away for a while and invites him to visit. Meanwhile, in the bunker, Brad, Anna, and Lori try to get out by standing on each other's shoulders, but they can't reach the exit, which is too high. Brad encourages Lori, who was at the top, to try again. Anna and Lori give up the futile attempts of escape and want to eat the food, but Brad refuses and takes the bag away. He eventually changes his mind, and they all eat the fast food and drink the water John gave them earlier. Back in the house, John enjoys playing the piano in the dark. He is interrupted by a clap of thunder. A heavy thunderstorm begins outside, but John continues to play the piano all night. The next morning, John takes a plastic bag and visits the bunker again. Feeling guilty that his family spent the night in the rain, John throws them a bag with warm clothes and a flashlight. Lori repeatedly asks him to talk to them. He responds with the same cold stare and silence as before, and leaves. Later, John meets his friend Pete. John is operating his drone while sitting on the hood of his family car. Pete gets off the bus and joins him. They get in the car and drive. Freaked out by John's reckless driving, Pete asks him to slow down. Then they talk casually. Later, the boys go into the pool and play around to see if you can see something weird while drowning. John holds Pete down for a bit too long, which enrages him. They go inside and play virtual tennis on the new TV. In the bunker, the family members turn away from each other to relieve themselves, putting their waste in a plastic bag and throwing it outside. They conclude that someone will eventually have to call the police. Lori misses her boyfriend. Anna remembers a question John had asked her earlier, something about what it's like being an adult. She had told him that being an adult is like being a kid but with responsibilities. John was disappointed with her answer, as he felt ignored and misunderstood as a child. He likely wanted to be acknowledged as an adult. In the kitchen, John and Pete are eating, and John notices something he doesn't like. Pete puts a spoon he licked in the bottle and treats it like it's okay. So John spits into the bottle to prove his point. They then run around spitting at each other and accidentally break a bowl. John holds Pete as he tries to eat upside down. In the bunker, Anna is so hungry, she forces herself to eat an old rotten banana peel. John, meanwhile, is fencing with a bucket on his head. John uses his drone to check on his family in the bunker, while he sits outside in a comfortable chair and watches them through virtual reality goggles. The father, frustrated with his captivity, yells at the drone. The family's mental state is rapidly deteriorating. Day after day, John drives to get money. The next day, John and Pete drive in the car. John gets out to get some money from the ATM and gives it to Pete. He encourages Pete to buy something fun, but he doesn't want to. In the bunker, Brad and Lori play with dirt, annoying Anna, who got splashed too. Days and weeks pass, and John slowly gets bored with his fake adulthood and starts to miss his family, who are now losing their minds from hunger and exhaustion. After a regular ATM trip, John sees a car in his driveway. It's Paula. She asks if he needs any help. She becomes suspicious of the dirt all over the house, but John assures her someone will come to clean it up later. As she starts to leave, John stops her. She reluctantly agrees to stay, and John tries to learn more about her. She finds his behavior strange. He asks her, "How does it feel to be 50?" Freaked out by his questions, she tries to leave again, but John asks her to spend the night. Now, Paula knows something is definitely wrong. She calls Anna's phone and hears it ringing in one of the rooms. Terrified, Paula immediately leaves. In the bunker, the dirty and exhausted family tries to make sense of what is happening. Brad wants to know what's wrong with John. He implies that Anna knows something about John that she's keeping from him and Lori. Lori is thirsty and takes a small sip from their scarce water supply. Brad and Anna stare at each other, blaming each other for what John turned out to be. A police car arrives at John's house. Paula called them. Paula and the police officer ring the doorbell and try to find John, but all the doors are locked. The police officer finds John's drone on a chair. John hides in his bedroom, peeking at them when they're not looking. They leave. The next day, John is at tennis practice, preparing for the state qualifiers. His trainer tells him he's not ready. He expects John to pay for the 2 weeks of lessons, as his mother used to. He offers his help if John needs anything, and feels that John's poor performance is related to problems with his parents. He advises John to train hard for the next 3 days, as he needs to do better to make it as a professional. In John's house, decomposing food is getting covered in ants. In the bunker, the situation is getting worse. John hasn't given them anything in 2 days, and the family is starving. They get dirtier each passing day. Lori and Anna are losing hope, but Brad cheers them up. John sits in front of the bunker, contemplating what he did. One day, John stays face down in the pool, trying to drown himself to see if he will see anything, just like Pete said earlier. At that very moment, Charlie walks by and comes to his rescue, only to be told by John that it's a game. Charlie says he's working next door and just came to check on John's dad because earlier, John told him that Brad has problems with his heart. John assures him that the father is all right, but he's not home. Feeling lonely, John tries to get Charlie to stay as well. Similar to how he did with Paula, Charlie refuses. Later that day, John tries to make risotto by watching a video. In the bunker, the family tries to stay sane by playing word games. They suddenly hear classical piano music. It's John. Brad and Anna try to convince him to let them go. John doesn't answer and just sends supplies down to them in a bucket on a rope. Brad grabs the rope and tries to climb it, but John cuts it as a cruel joke. This time, John actually talks to them. The starved family eats the risotto he cooked, and he also gives them wine. John boasts to the family that he hit 300 serves at tennis practice. Later in the house, John switches all the lights in the house on and off to fight his boredom. He goes for a long drive in the dark, thinking about his life and what he did to his family. He comes to the bunker and watches his exhausted and dirty family sleeping. He starts crying, full of remorse. Lori wakes up and they talk. She is happy to see him not frowning at them as he did before. She thanks him for the risotto and asks for his forgiveness. Overwhelmed by guilt, John leaves a ladder for his family. Exhausted from their ordeal, they slowly walk toward the house. They find John face down in the pool and rush to save him. Once saved, John stares at them with a guilty expression on his face. They reluctantly forgive him. Eventually, the bunker is filled with soil so no one can ever be put in it again. The family resumes their lives as normal, choosing to ignore what John did to them. They have dinner together, pretending nothing happened. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.